Welcome to this class on literary criticism. Now, we are going to see something about T.S. Eliot's essay, Tradition and the Individual Talent. This essay was published in the year 1919, and it is one of the most influential works of 20th century literary criticism. It was published during the rise of modernism, and this essay challenged the romantic belief that poetry is primarily an expression of the poet's personal feelings and emotions. Instead, Eliot argued that great poetry emerges from a harmonious relationship between literary tradition and individual creativity. The essay revolutionized critical thinking about literature by introducing concepts such as historical sense, the theory of impersonality, and the objective evaluation of literary works. Even today, it remains a foundational text in literary studies and criticism. Now, we shall see what is the concept of tradition. Tradition is not blind imitation or mere inheritance. According to Eliot, he says that it is a conscious study of literary history. He says tradition is not merely the inheritance of customs, beliefs, or literary forms from the past, nor is it a blind imitation of earlier writers. Tradition requires conscious effort and rigorous study. Eliot famously states that tradition cannot be inherited, it must be obtained by great labor. Now, he defines historical sense. What is historical sense? He says that it is a perception not only of the pastness of the past, but of its presence, because the past influences the present and the present interprets the past, and literature exists as a continuous tradition. This engagement, the engagement of the present with the past, allows the writer to situate his or her work with a larger cultural and artistic framework. And now we come to what is known as the existing order. One of Eliot's most important contribution is the concept of the historical sense and the existing order. According to Eliot, all great literary works exist together in what he calls an existing order. This order consists of the accumulated masterpieces of literature from different ages. When a new work of genuine artistic value is created, it does not simply join this order, it also modifies it. The significance of older works changes in relation to the new work, just as the new work derives meaning from its relationship to the past. So they are interconnected with one another. There is a dynamic interaction between old and new literature. Now we move on to individual talent. Individual talent is nothing but the true originality, which does not mean rejecting tradition. Eliot emphasizes tradition. He does not deny the importance of individual talent. He argues that true originality does not result from rejecting the past. Instead, originality emerges when a poet absorbs the literary tradition and transforms it into something new. And he says that great poets do not merely imitate their predecessors, rather, they assimilate inherited materials, ideas, and techniques and reshape them according to their own creative vision. So, he says that individuality develops through tradition. And now, let us move on to the theory of impersonality. A central aspect of Eliot's essay is his theory of impersonality. This theory directly challenges the romantic notion that poetry is the expression of the poet's personality and emotions. He firmly declares poetry is not the expression of personality, but an escape from personality. Poetry should be objective, artistic, and universal. According to Eliot, the poet should not simply pour personal feelings into a poem. Instead, personal experiences must be transformed into artistic form. The poet's task is to create a work that transcends individual circumstances and achieves universal significance. He says that poetry is not a turning loose of emotion, but an escape from emotion. He does not suggest that emotions are unimportant. Rather, he argues that emotions must be disciplined and organized through artistic technique. The value of poetry depends not on the intensity of personal feelings, but on the successful transformation of those feelings into art. This theory shifted critical attention away from the author's biography and encouraged readers to focus on the poem itself. So, he equates poetry to emotion plus artistic control. And now, he explains the poet's mind with the help of the catalyst theory. He explains the process of poetic creation by comparing the poet's mind to a piece of platinum used in a chemical reaction involving oxygen and sulfur dioxide. The platinum facilitates the reaction but remains unchanged by it. Similarly, the poet's mind serves as a medium through which various emotions, experiences, images, and the ideas combine to create poetry. The poet synthesizes these elements into a unified artistic whole while remaining detached from the final product. And now, he tells something about the poet's mind. The poet's mind acts as a repository of impressions gathered from life. Great poetry results from the ability to organize and fuse these diverse materials into a coherent work of art. This process demonstrates the importance of artistic craftsmanship rather than mere emotional expression. And now he compares emotion and feeling. Emotion is strong personal feeling, whereas feeling is a complex mental impression. And he distinguishes between emotion and feeling carefully. Emotion refers to a strong personal experiences, while feeling encompasses more complex and subtle mental impressions. Poetry may arise from either emotion, feeling, or a combination of both. However, what matters most is the artistic organization of these elements. And this emphasis on artistic structure leads Eliot to advocate objective criticism. Literary works should not be judged according to the author's personal life, intentions, or emotional experiences. Instead, critics should focus on the text itself, its language, structure, imagery, and overall effectiveness. And now, let us see his theory's influence on new criticism. Actually, this approach by Eliot laid the groundwork for later critical movements, particularly new criticism, which emphasized close reading and textual analysis. Eliot's ideas encouraged critics to treat literature as an autonomous artistic object rather than a reflection of the author's biography. So, in this way, it influenced new criticism. And now let us have the major arguments of the essay. Tradition is essential, historical sense is necessary, literature forms a unified order, originality emerges through tradition, poetry is largely impersonal, poet functions as a catalyst, and criticism should focus on the text. And the major significance of the essay is that it revolutionized literary criticism, it challenged romantic theories, established modernistic principles, developed historical sense, introduced impersonality theory, and influenced 20th century criticism. And even though it has an overemphasis on tradition, and complete impersonality is impossible, even though it neglects social and political realities, and even though it is too dependent on Western literary canon. The essay remains a landmark essay in modern literary theory by redefining tradition, emphasizing the historical sense, and introducing the theory of impersonality. Eliot fundamentally altered the way literature is understood and evaluated. He demonstrated that great poetry emerges from the interaction between individual creativity and the accumulated wisdom of literary tradition. Although some aspects of his theory have been challenged, the essay continues to shape literary criticism and remains essential reading for students and scholars of literature. Thank you for your listening.